Alternate angles. So we're still looking at pairs of angles, how they're related to each other, and using that information to help us figure out the measures of angles that haven't explicitly been told to us. So alternate interior and alternate exterior angles. When a transversal intersects parallel lines, alternate interior angles are congruent and alternate exterior angles are congruent. So what does that mean, alternate interior and alternate exterior angles? So if we think about our parallel lines, we're talking about inside the parallel lines, our interior, and outside the parallel lines, our exterior. So if you think of an interior decorator, that's someone who decorates inside your house. The exterior of your house is the outside. If you think of an exoskeleton, when we think about science, an ant has an exoskeleton. Its skeleton is on the outside. So exterior, outside, interior, inside. So alternate interior angles. So if I'm looking inside of my parallel lines, I have 4 angles inside my parallel lines. Alternate on the opposite sides of our transversal here. So I have one angle kind of in the upper left of these inside, and one angle on the bottom right of my inside. Those two are congruent to each other when they are in between parallel lines. And then I have these other two, bottom left and upper right. These two are congruent also. We call those alternate because they're on opposite sides. Interior, they're inside the parallel lines. Alternate interior angles. Alternate exterior angles, we're still talking about related to those parallel lines. Exterior, outside of the parallel lines. So opposite angles, alternate, outside the parallel lines, exterior. These two are congruent to each other. And my other pair of alternate exterior angles are here. Those two are congruent also. So just like my supplementary, complementary, vertical angles, corresponding angles, I can put these kind of in my bag of tricks as for how to identify measures of angles. So let's put those into use. So this looks a lot like the ones we did in our angle pairs, but we're going to use some new pairs in there to help us figure out the measures. Use the figure to find the measures of the numbered angles explained. So we have one measure that's given here, a 75-degree angle, and we're going to figure out what the measures of all the other pairs are using some of these new terms and these new measure angle pairs that we've talked about. So we know our 75 degree. We know that angle 1 over here is also 75 because it is vertical to our 75-degree angle. Angle 2 is 105 because it is supplementary to angle 1. That looks like 65. Let me fix that. It's supplementary angle 1, so 105 plus 75 equals 180, supplementary. Angle 3 is also 105, and we know that for a couple of reasons. Hopefully you're already thinking of them. Vertical angles here, we could say it that, so they're vertical to angle 2. We could also say that angle 3 is supplementary to angle 1 and the 75-degree angle, so it's 105 for 3 different reasons. All right, now let's go over to this other intersection of our transversal and our line here. Angle 4. Now angle 4, we could say it's corresponding to angle 1. We're going to go about this a little bit differently. Let's take our alternate angles into account here. So here are our parallel lines. We're talking inside of the parallel lines, so we're talking interior. So we know that angle 4 is an alternate interior angle to angle 75. The 75-degree angle is on the other side of my transversal. They're both inside the parallel lines, but they're on opposite sides of that transversal. So angle 4 is 75 degrees because it's our alternate interior to angle 75, to the 75-degree angle which they gave to us. So that's 75. Angle 5. Angle 5 is also an interior angle, but it's an alternate interior to angle 3, which is 105. So angle 5 is 105 because it's alternate interior to angle 3. Angle 6 and 7. Now, the angle 6 and 7 are on the outside of the parallel lines. I've got these two parallel lines in between them and then the outside of them. So angle 6 and 7 are exterior angles. Let's see if we can find the alternate angle that goes with them. So angle 6 is way out here. If I go on the other side of the transversal, outside of the parallel lines, I find angle 1. So angle 1 is 75 degrees, so is angle 6. They are congruent. So angle 1 and angle 6 are both 75 degrees. because they're alternate exterior angles. And then if I go back to 7, 7 and 2 are alternate exterior angles. So they are congruent to each other. So angle 7 is 105 degrees also because it's alternate exterior to angle 2. All right, last piece. Describe the relationship between each pair of angles. So we don't need to find the measures. We're just going to explain how they are related to each other. So angle 1 and angle 7. So here's angle 1 and here's angle 7. You'll notice that they are outside of our parallel lines. Here are our parallel lines. I know they're parallel because they have the little triangle there. They're outside, so they're exterior angles, and they are on opposite sides of the transversal, so they are alternate exterior angles. How about angle 3 and angle 5? Well, here's angle 3, and here's angle 5, and those are inside my parallel lines. I have to sneeze. These are inside my parallel lines, and so they are interior angles. I can't get the sneeze out. Interior angles, and they're on the opposite sides of the transversal, so they are alternate interior angles. That sneeze is going to have to come later. So, alternate interior angles, which means they are congruent to each other also. Alternate exterior angles, those are congruent to each other. And then these are also congruent. Can you figure out why? They're vertical angles, exactly. 7 and 5 are vertical. But they didn't ask us about 7 and 5. They asked us about this pair and this pair. And then we've got alternate exterior and alternate interior. So we have added some more pairs of angles to our bag of tricks to help us figure out measures of angles that we haven't specifically been told.